Welcome to Love and Live Abundantly. I'm Ilona.
I'm Bill. Do you want to love more effectively?
Do you want to live fully and love more courageously?
We talk about what all that means.
And how you can achieve it.
Join us. Hey, everybody. This is Bill Mock again, and with my good friend Ilona. And we're here starting our new year, and this is season 7, right?
It is season 7.
Yeah,
Hello, everyone.
It's nice the way we keep busy, huh?
Yeah.
Can I get us started? Because before we went on the air here, Ilona and I were chatting about the way things are nowadays and feeling a little bit discouraged about how some folks are being so negative and whatever. And I noted that I had a friend, my best friend from high school. I'd been looking at his Facebook posts. I think that's the right term. And he's got a great sense of humor, and I usually enjoy them, but since the beginning of the year, he has been so phenomenally negative, and it's not just about some kind of factual based something. He just is naming people and calling them evil names and being disparaging in the worst possible way. That's not the guy I knew. That's very distressing to me. But as I told Alana, at about the same time that I was coming to recognition that that was going on in his posts, I was noticing in Alana's posts that hers are almost all uniformly positive. And I noted that I like flipping through, I did this long list of posts that are there to get to hers because they are positive, upbeat, humorous, usually, sometimes, occasionally, uh, and oftentimes very spiritual. And the contrast is so high that I thought, well, maybe we ought to chat more about that. Um, and I posited a theory that it's a two-way street. I think you can have a positive attitude, and that would result in lots of positive in your posts. And the alternative theory is that if you discipline yourself to do a lot of positive posts, that'll result in your having internally a positive attitude. I hope that's true, because that means that people who are negative and sour with a little bit of work can turn it around, you know?
Yeah, I have just always been one of those people that likes to emit positive energy. In the beginning, you know, let's just know, like, Bill is just getting on Facebook really in 2025. And I'm so glad that you're there. You're here with us. But I've been on Facebook since 2008. And so for me, when I started back then posting all of the positive memes and the uplifting memes, they were reminders for myself. That's how they started out, was that they would be reminders for myself of, whatever was happening for the day. And then it just so happened that other people started liking them and enjoying them as well. And, it just, that made me happy to spread positivity. But I never like to put anything negative, even when there are negative things going on in my life.
Hmm.
I do my very best to find the positive in that, right? Like, okay, there's a bigger reason for what's happening right now. I may not understand it, I may not know it. The position that I had in crisis for 100 days. Like my friends tell me now, they're like, why did you ever take that job? Like, I never liked that you worked there. It always made me nervous that, but I knew that I was there for a reason, that there was something there for me to learn, even though I was in depression from it. I knew. And then, there were some changes that went on for the end of the year for me that it was like I got upset and I cried for a minute, but then I said to myself, okay, Ilona, you're coming from your heart, right? Because you're a loyal person, yet your brain and your gut know what you need to do. And so I don't know. And then I think back to September 11th and, when the world was in turmoil and I focused on being grateful how all Americans came together, right?
Mm.
How we were strong, right? I focused on that than the tragedy. So, and that was even before Facebook, right? That was 2001. So I feel like I don't know if it's something that's always been in me that maybe I just needed to learn more and practice more. But I wasn't always this way. It took practice to maybe fine tune it. Maybe that's what I was doing, fine tuning it, where I was allowing myself to see that everything really happens for a reason, right?
Mhm.
That there's no, and so shit, you might as well be positive about it.
Well, one of the things that, if you allow me to disclose this about you, but I was kind of with you the whole time that you were going through this business with your broken leg, and if there was ever uh, a good basis for being negative in your life, that god awful fracture of your leg is certainly a good one. And through it out, the two changes I noticed was that some of your posts diminished slightly, and I mean slightly in number, but still somehow you managed to infuse them with positivity. And I don't know. I imagined that doing that was helping you get through this, that somehow positive is as positive does. I mean, there's a lot of people in my business who don't like my personal theory of human growth. It's not just mine. There's a lot of people who believe this, but that if you don't like the way things are in your life, if you don't like the way you're feeling or what you're thinking, it's entirely possible to stop doing it and do something else.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not possible to just stop, but if you stop and decide that there's something else to do that's more productive and happy and positive, you can actually do that. And I sometimes wonder at my age if there are just some people who maybe know that but don't bother, that somehow being miserable or unhappy or whatever is an essential part of their identity. I, I
And I don't
don't
think that they know
get
anything
it.
different. I think it's victim versus responsible mentality. It's like, either you play a victim to it or you're responsible. Like, okay, I ended up here, and what decision do I make next? And for me, it was extremely important to let people know that what I was going through with my broken leg because I was real. I was real and I still kept that positivity, even though sometimes in my life I wasn't feeling that. But yes, people said, "Oh, wow, it's so amazing. You're being so vulnerable." And I'm like, "Well, of course I am. This is what I talk about all the time. Like I'm not going to I'm not going to shove my feelings in and not communicate." And what was beautiful was in those posts where I was vulnerable with my broken leg experience, I had people supporting me from all over the world,
Hmm.
like literally all over the world. It was beautiful. And there are some people who were annoyed by them. There are some people who don't follow me anymore. They've unfriended me, and I don't care, like, um, because that's the reality is that a lot of us go through things and we don't express it, so we keep it down. And, we were talking about what your friend, on Facebook, and I feel like, and I've said this in this podcast before, that a lot of people are a lot angrier since COVID.
Hmm.
And I feel like it's because they're in their trauma response, and they're that little kid who's fighting or flighting or, and they don't even know it. They don't even know it because it's been a part of their entire life. I think about my sister, how my sister and I are totally different. I'm more responsible. She plays victim. It's just, and we're from the same parents, but raised differently.
Well, I think that there are some people intuitively know that there's real power in being a victim. And there's a secondary gain in holding on to that victimhood. And if you say to them, and it is the role they know, and if you say to them, if you behave in certain ways, if you do these kinds of things, you won't have that anymore. You'll have something else. And I promise you, trust me, that something else is going to be something better. And I think some people are scared to go there. If you take a shot at being happy and you fail, boy, now you really deserve to be depressed, huh? So getting people past that, and the problem is that if you're really, really down and if you're really negative, it, you're going to take a fast look at posts like yours and say, that's not for me. I'm going to go look for something that resonates more with me. I'll never forget. I was in undergraduate school, and I had a sociology teacher who did an entire 2 sessions about the power of victimhood, how important, and she was talking politically. But I listened to her and I said, "Well, I don't know if I agree with that." But boy, as the years have passed, I see people clutching onto that victimhood, and, oh, poor, pitiful me, and how important that is. And if you don't play along, how awful you become.
You
That's why I prefer looking at ones like yours.
So I told you about my neighbor, and so I don't know if I mentioned to you that I actually coached her for in one of my, I think it was my 3-month course, and so I coached her, and I'm very real. I'm very real, and she had, I'm trying to think, I mean, as long as I don't mention anybody's names, I'm good. Um,
Yes.
so we were on a coaching call and she said, my son's in crisis. I have to go. I have to go. I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay. I worked in crisis, right? Like, I know, go be for your son. I talked to her the next day. I said, or maybe even later that night, I said, how's your son? How are things going? Oh, he needed a dress shirt for his interview on Wednesday. And I'm like, that was the crisis. He needed a shirt for an interview on Wednesday, which is 2 days from now. And so I said, perhaps you should try empowering your son instead of enabling him. Tell him to go to Goodwill and spend $8 on a button-down shirt for his interview and not realizing her come from is victim.
Mm.
And so she was not ready to receive that. Right. And so
Right.
that made her angry and vengeful. And that's what I feel like a lot of people are just stuffing what they feel. Or like your friend, he goes to be a 2-year-old with a temper tantrum.
Mm.
Right? Like
Right.
it's it's just interesting to see. And I even, another person, it's people's perception. It's really what people want to perceive, what they were grown up on, right? What is comfortable for people to believe.
Now, a number of years ago in my field, there was this notion of self-actualized persons. So, and I became enamored of it. I thought that was really slick. And they defined it as somebody who was comfortable in their own skin. I mean, there was a more formal one, but more comfortable in their own skin, who really felt okay with where they were, that they were real centered. And they're one of the key features of people who are self-actualized is that when you're around someone who is self-actualized, you walk away from that feeling better about yourself without their doing anything proactive to make that happen. That's the self-actualized person. And while I went to a really neat workshop about that and about how to become self-actualized and all the rest of that. But one of the things I really remember out of that is that there are sad people in the world who won't be able to be around folks who are self-actualized because they have this barrier, this blockade against feeling good, feeling self-actualized. I it really was a great workshop, and it was. I always imagined that what happened in that workshop is a lot of what ends up happening with you and your coaching.
Yeah, I
Sorry, I should have said over to you, Alana.
you're fine. Yeah, well, and the interesting thing is that she wasn't somebody who chose in to begin with. So she attended the class, but I came from more of a scarcity, like, oh, I need more people. I need more
Hmm.
people. Let me have her come in, where she didn't see the value in what I was offering. Anyway, yes, I mean, I think that's why I struggle with my sister sometimes because we go about things differently. I am like, okay, here it is. It's like let's talk about it. Let's have a family discussion. Let's do this and everybody and not even a lot of my family just wants to hush hush, keep it quiet. Don't say anything. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And I'm like, I could care less about anybody else's feelings. If I don't feel good, I'm leaving. I'm out. And it may take me a while to get to that place, but I like I think that's one of the things from my broken leg experience is that I'm going to be 52 years old this year and life is too damn short not to have connection and and not to feel good. And I'm not going to stay anywhere where I don't feel good. It's not even an option for me. Like,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of people that do that.
there's a when I was talking about the self-actualized thing, that they gave there were lots of it was a workshop and where we had to do stuff to so that we could become self-actualized. And one of them that was really important was positive self-talk. That no matter how you were feeling, you could be lower than a snake's belly, but you could, if you disciplined yourself and routinized yourself into having positive statements from yourself to yourself on a routine basis, not when you needed them, but all the time, so that they were there and easier to do when you did need them. And it occurs to me as we were talking that that's really what you do with your posts.
Mm.
That yeah, if you it is really it really is quite amazing, and at a very deeply personal level, it's one of the reasons that I find it's so nice and comfortable to be around you, and one of the reasons why these podcasts work for me. Yeah.
Well, because if you feel good, right? Like you're done with not feeling good. Like if it doesn't bring you joy, you don't want to do it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, there's
No.
as it should be.
And my daughter, there's a phrase I've used for all these years, and my daughter has really grabbed a hold of it, and she calls me from time to time and says, "Hey, got some more feedback," because there's a term called healthy selfish,
Mhm.
and somehow, I mean, she heard me use it over the years, but somehow that's become an important theme in her life, that she recognizes that she isn't worth a damn to anybody else unless she's whole and strong and the best woman she can be first.
Yep.
Yeah, that's I remember something that, oh God, who is it? Now I can't remember the source. It'll come to me about 3 in the morning. I'll post it then. But the statement was the best thing you can do for your children. This was man to man. The best thing you can do for your children is to love their mother.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that makes so much sense that too many people give up their kids and give up and say, well, or give up loving their mothers because they're going to do it for the kids, you know. But the best thing you can do for the kids is to love their mother, not to say, well, your mother and I still love you, but we don't love each other. And so, but you'll get over it. No, that's not positive. No.
And
Anyway,
the
that's that whole idea of healthy selfish.
no, I love that. I actually think we've talked about that previously, the healthy selfish. Healthy selfish.
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm all about that. Like I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Don't call me at 5 because I'm not picking up the phone probably till like 9. Um, but I take those first 3, 4 hours in the morning and they are all about me and Chesney, my dog, and I'm focused on that. I feel like I kind of got off track with my journaling. I haven't been doing my daily journaling and I actually started again today. And another thing that I do is I listen to positive music. Like Karen Drucker or Alessia Caron, if you've heard of them. They have very positive, happy music. I'm grateful. Like there's a song for it, right? And so I listen to it all the time that now I'm not going to say all of the time, but a lot of the time, I just hear that when there's silence and that negative
Mm.
talk happens, I'm singing those songs.
And
You know,
yet another tool.
yeah, and so it's been very, very helpful for me. And I like listening to Louise Hay. I went back to her after I broke my leg and then I kind of went off a little bit, but then I've been listening to her for the last few days and I just really I don't know whether it's that motherly voice that she has, but I find her very comforting. And just to like on YouTube, you just listen to different videos to keep in that momentum.
Mhm.
And yeah, and like I go on my YouTube and something about the news comes up, and I'm like, don't ever show me this again. It's all bad stuff. I don't want to see it. And I will elect to don't show me this again. I just, yeah.
Well, here's a little personal just self-disclosure that is, I guess, an integral part of my personal weirdness. But there's I play a guitar, I hum and strum. I don't play it if other people are around, but I have favorite music. And I noticed years and years and years ago, 40 years ago, that there was this set of songs that would pop into my head that I'd sit and hum and strum and sing along with. And I called them my depression set. If I was feeling depressed and feeling down, I would I would immerse myself in these songs. And I always thought, well, God, that's a little contrary because all of the songs were phenomenally depressing and negative. I mean, awful, awful. And when I'm not depressed and I listen to them and I think, oh my God, if I'm not depressed already, I got to listen to them. Songs like Roger Miller's One Dying and a Burying. I mean, the title says it there for you. And I just thought, okay, just accept it. Your history has been that when you play that music and you listen to that music, that at some point you stop being depressed. Okay, so that works. So just shut up about it and don't worry about it, and you're be weird. And then at some point it occurred to me that what I was really doing was saying, okay, I'm feeling depressed. Well, it's shit. Let's get it over with. I'm sorry, pardon my language. Oh, heck, let's get it over with. Just get it done. Be depressed. If you're going to do it right. Squeeze it all into one little lump and be done with it. And then you can choose. And that's the word that was really important. Choose to go in another direction.
I mean, that's one of the things that I teach in my coaching course, and I think we need to wrap up here soon, but um is you gotta make a change, you've got to make a different choice, or you get to make a different choice. You don't have to, you get to if you want to have a different outcome.
I, my clients got really tired of hearing me say this, but that word choice became important. And I would say, well, you have a choice. And they would say, no, I don't have a choice. I'm really, really down or sad or dysfunctional or whatever. And I would say, well, that's your choice. That's the choice you've made. If that's the choice you've made, maybe there's a choice you can unmake. Maybe you can choose something else. If you're powerful enough to choose this terrible, devastating place, maybe you're strong enough to choose another. Take a chance. Yeah. And I think I like about your coaching is that people decide to take a chance on something that's dangerous and unknown, is that it's easier to take a chance when you're with somebody who's safe to be with and who maybe has been where you've been.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does make a big difference.
Are we ending this session now? I'm sorry.
We are. So thank you all for joining us today.
Would you please, if you have something to say to us or a question you'd like to ask or something you'd like us to address, feel free to contact us at
hello@truthbetold.world. hello@truthbetold.world.
Adios, kiddo.
Take care.